Hello everyone, and welcome back to the garage with Bonesaw. Today we'll be taking a look at how to be a great, major league quality World of Tanks player with possibly the most powerful tank in the game. That's right, today we're looking at the infamous, the one and only German Tier 1 light tank, the Light Tractor, also known as the Op Tractor or the LOL Tractor. Now, as we all know, in World of Tanks, what it takes to be a really good player isn't really skill. It's not even buying premium rounds or anything like that. You really just need to pick the most powerful tank in the game. It really just comes down to simple maths of some vehicles better than others, and some vehicles just stand head and shoulders above the rest. And one of these, it's the gem that only really the skilled players, the ones who know to look for a good tank, are looking for. But it's the Tier 1 German Light Tractor. It's that tank that just stands head and shoulders above the rest. And when a lot of new players start World of Tanks, they say, well, I want a good tank. I want a tank that's, quick and maneuverable, has good armor, has a good gun, can, get across the terrain I want it to get across, deals good damage, deals good penetration, aims fast, shoots fast, and that's really what the Light Tractor is. It has all those things that any player could want in a tank. Now, this vehicle was an absolutely revolutionary design when it was produced in 1933 in Germany by the Germans, and it was used in the training facilities that they had established in Russia, and they deployed them there in an effort to kind of intimidate the Russians. They felt that if they put their most advanced designs into a training facility, the Russians would see that they had absolutely no chance to face off against this absolute behemoth of a machine, and that they would just surrender straight away if Germany ever went to war with Russia. And Joseph Stalin is quoted as having said on several occasions, "I fear the day that war between Germany and the Soviet Union occurs, lest the young men of our country have to face the evil of the Light Tractor." And so you can tell if the man of steel himself was intimidated by such a vehicle, you know that in World of Tanks it's going to be incredibly powerful. Now, many factors in the design of the Light Tractor have carried on into modern designs. Now, as you can see, it has a frontally mounted engine with a large access hatch on top of the tank. And this is common to many designs nowadays. You see it in even common automobiles because it means that you can really access the engine easily, repair and maintain the tank very easily, and that means that the Germans would have considerable advantage in the field. Furthermore, having an engine in the front adds to the crew protection of the vehicle. It means that rounds are more likely to hit the engine, actually adds an extra armor layer between the crew and whatever's shooting at them. And this has been replicated in modern tanks like the Swedish Stridsvagn 103 and the Israeli Merkava tanks. If we look at the tracks, you can see they're very thin tracks, which give a nice weight ratio in comparison to the tank. Only weighs about 9 tons. The Germans were very precise with the weight requirements for this tank to make it as lethal and effective as possible. As you see, the very lightweight means it has very good ground flotation. It can move across pretty much any terrain, and those small tracks mean it can really move across roads without damaging them, and allows it to be very effective in any environment. Now, if we move down to take a look at the tracks, we can see that there's a number of inline road wheels, and this has inspired many modern devices, things such as the modern rollerblade that many people enjoy in their weekend hobbies. So as you can see, the innovations in this vehicle didn't really stay at only this vehicle. They've touched many different parts of modern lifestyles, as well as you can see the careful positioning of the driver on the left-hand side of the tank. This affected many different societies' ways of driver placement in their cars. As you can see in countries like America, where they drive on the right-hand side of the road, the driver is positioned on the left-hand side of the vehicle, which is of course a direct copy from this vehicle. You can also see the large door on the rear of the vehicle. This was heavily inspirational to both domestic and military designs. This sort of door was rapidly adopted on many different types of military battleships, as it proved to be more resistant than conventional bulkheads to small arms and even high caliber ship weapons. The railing around the edges, you can see, was also very influential on modern designs, and many just domestic handrails now follow that convention of design. You can also see it has two towing lugs and a tow hitch on the rear of the vehicle, and that was because of this very strong power to weight ratio. It seems almost too much engine power for a vehicle of this size, but it was really quite a clever decision to put a 100 horsepower engine in a vehicle like this, because it meant it could really move itself around, and it could also haul a large amount of cargo or other vehicles, weaker vehicles that needed salvaging from the battlefield. And it meant that the Germans could really essentially combine their tank into a recovery vehicle. Now, in terms of firepower, the Leichtraktor was armed with the infamous 37mm L46.5 gun. As you can tell, the Germans really went for maximum precision here by doing these extreme calculations, hence why its designation is 46.5. They went even further, did even more mathematics on it to get those extra decimal places in there. And you know, if there's more decimal places in it and more points of rounding, then the vehicle and the design that's gone into it has obviously been more complex. Now, it has an astounding 26.9 rate of fire. That's around pretty much every 3 seconds. Fantastic rate of fire. Allows you to compete at pretty much every level of the game. In terms of penetration, you have 40mm of penetration, which is insane for a standard base level of penetration. You'll be able to easily penetrate pretty much any target you come up against. That's why this vehicle can easily compete all the way from Tier 1 up to Tier 10. Getting on the flank of something like a Mouse or an E100, you can be a real danger to those tanks with 40mm of penetration. And if you feel like being lazy, you can pay for premium rounds with 74mm of penetration. Now, 74mm of penetration really is kind of, it's overkill. You really don't need it. You can penetrate the front of virtually every tank in the game with that, including things like the T-95 tank destroyer, as well as most gun mantlets on a tank. And really, I mean, considering this tank is pretty overpowered as it is, I think it's unfair, and generally I don't use any of the premium rounds because you don't need them. This tank's just too powerful as it is. High explosive shells are fun if you really want to troll your opponents. 80mm of penetration isn't as good as 40mm, but it's enough to really do some good extra damage and just generally troll your opponents with those high explosive shells. 0.46 accuracy is fantastic accuracy, easily one of the most accurate guns in the game for its caliber and for its tier. It means you can more than easily compete it no matter the range and no matter the tier. You can often outshoot a lot of Tier 10 tanks with your laser-like accuracy, and really attack those weak points from long distance to really cause maximum damage to your opponents. 1.7 second aiming time is incredibly fast. It means you can aim rapidly at your opponents. Allows you to switch targets very easily and really just fire on the move and kind of troll hard with this gun. You also have two alternate guns, the 2cm KWK-38 and the 2cm Breda. The 2cm Breda is Italian, so I don't really trust it too much. I don't think it'll be good as something built for a German tank. I don't think it'll fit quite as well. And while it goes fast, it's like a Ferrari. Anything built by Italians, it's of high quality and it goes fast. I'm just not quite sure it's what we're looking for in this tank. It does favour a more aggressive playstyle, I'll grant it that, and it can be very useful. Very lethal at taking off a lot of health from enemies quickly, but I prefer the consistency of the 37mm gun. As I said, you can tell from the shape of the numbers that it's been very well calculated to be most effective on this vehicle. Now, what makes the Leichtraktor so extremely powerful is its armour. It has 14mm of frontal hull armour, which is it doesn't seem like too much at first, but it's in fact very powerful, because if you look at this slope on that frontal plate, that's an extreme slope. That's pretty much auto-bounce territory. So most enemies shooting at you will be very easily bouncing off that armour. And your lower glacis is, of course, 14mm thick as well, with a good curve to it, which means it'll bounce a lot of shots as well, and it means you're less likely to take damage that way. Your flanks are 12 meters, a little bit less, but still durable enough. And more importantly, you have that very thick track armor on the sides, and with your rear-mounted turret, it means that the Leichtraktor can really sidescrape very well. And that's why a lot of the pro players pick this tank 9 times out of 10 for their tournament and company battle teams. You also see them a lot in clan wars because of that side-scraping ability. Often you'll see what's called the LOL train formation, where it's you have essentially a series of LOL tractors stacked up behind each other, and that will allow them to sidescrape off each other, using each other as cover, absorbing a lot of damage off the tracks, and dealing a phenomenal amount back with that incredibly potent 37mm gun. In terms of crew, this vehicle only has 3 crew because that's all it needs. Any more would be redundant. So you have a loader, a driver, and a commander. All of them are safely mounted in the rear of this tank. Behind that engine means it's very hard to lose crew members. Your driver, as you can see, has the most frontal position with a nice little elevated box there so you can see all around him. Good line of sight on this tank means that you can generally spot enemies before they spot you, and as such it has a very strong 310 meter view range. That's enough to compete at virtually any tier. The signal range, 265, is a little low, but you know, they have to try and balance this tank somehow, and the 39-degree turret traverse speed means you can really engage enemies quite rapidly, and if you need to, you can switch to position B, which is where you rotate your turret around and face it to the rear, and that means you can act more like a conventional tank, allowing you to poke corners more easily, and it can also allow you to try and you know, use that lower slope on the rear drive wheel to get a terrain slightly better. It also means that you can make rapid escapes. You can set yourself up behind cover with the turret facing rearwards, and if the enemy try and push on you, you can just easily hit forwards, drive away at full speed, and it'll be really hard for the enemy to catch you because of your really high engine power and good traverse speed, which means you'll be likely to outmaneuver them. In terms of equipment, I don't really mount anything, to be honest. I put binoculars on, but that's mainly to troll, and because, well, you know, when you're not tanking, you need a hobby, and to be honest, this is a really good bird watching tank. Just park it out in the bushes. It has really good camouflage factor, so birds won't see you, so you just set up your binoculars and you can have a fun day bird watching when you've dominated all the scrubs in a battle. Ventilation might be nice if it gets hot. I know here in Australia it gets pretty hot, so sometimes that air conditioning can really help just keep you nice and relaxed when you're dominating your opponents. Spall liner isn't really needed. This tank's powerful enough as it is. High explosive doesn't really do much damage to it anyway, and anyone who rams you is an idiot because they'll take the worst of it. Camouflage net, if you really want to troll, you can use it. I personally don't take it simply because I think that'd be too cruel, because it would be practically invisible. No one would be able to find you at all. Coated optics is kind of like the lazy man's binocular telescope. That's if you're like too impatient to do proper bird watching, instead you go to something silly like whale watching. I mean, who goes whale watching in a tank? Really, it's poor choice. Enhanced gun laying drive, once again, is unnecessary. It only adds 10%. Your gun aims so fast anyway that it's just redundant. But it's nice because it looks cool, and you can kind of give it that steampunk look if you like that on your tank. Toolbox is great because it's really just practical around the house. I like to keep one of those in my tank sometimes. However, I find the LOL tractor is kind of good for everything anyway, so I don't really need the toolbox. Having one of these in your garage kind of makes any other tool in your garage redundant, so I recommend one of them. Pick it up from Sears. There's everything for you at Sears. Now, in terms of ammunition loadout, as I mentioned, I don't really need any of the armor-piercing composite rigid. It's just too evil, so instead I pack armor-piercing. And in terms of consumables, you don't really need anything. You can throw in some octane if you want to, because, well, you know, apparently it's good for your car. Put the blue stuff in. Makes it run better. Repair kit, you don't really need it. This tank's indestructible anyway. First aid kit, the tank's so well protected you'll never need it for the crew, but, I mean, if you cut your finger or something, you need a small band-aid. It could be useful. I know plenty of people like to keep first aid kits around the house, so if you want one, fine. Fire extinguisher. This tank is 100% non-flammable. It is impossible for this vehicle to catch on fire because it is made of fire itself, and as we all know, fire is a plasma state. You cannot essentially convert plasma into plasma. It's what it already is, so fire extinguisher is completely utterly useless. If you want to, you can go for the red octane, because we all know that red ones go faster, but the speed on this tank is already pretty insane, so I'm not sure if you'll need it. Once again, automatic fire extinguishers, redundant. They'd pretty much just be going off all the time and just be wasted because they wouldn't do anything because the tank is already made of fire. Chocolate, good if you need a nice pick-me-up. Maybe if you've, you know, had a pretty bad day, you can keep some of that in the tank. Your choice. Large first aid kit, once again, don't really think it's needed, and the large repair kit is just completely and utterly useless on this vehicle. It's indestructible anyway. The only thing that can really kill a LOL tractor is another LOL tractor. So that's it for the LOL tractor. Hopefully plenty of you will be taking these tanks out now. We'll be seeing a lot more of them on the battlefield, driven responsibly of course, and if you're a skilled player you'll be easily able to master this tank, dominate a lot of scrubs, and hopefully that means we can bring a lot more of you up to the standard of Major League Gaming. We can see a lot more people in clan and company battles driving these tanks around and really performing at their best, because as we all know in World of Tanks, it's not about how good of a player you are, it's about the tank you drive and how overpowered it is. So hopefully I've given you a good guide to the most overpowered tank in the game. You can get out there and really just dominate some scrubs all day and every day. So keep up the good work, everyone. So here we are on Himmelsdorf in the Black Tractor, the Tier 1 German op tank. Really is the strongest tank in the game. As you can see, there's a lot of scrubs on the enemy team. We have about 5 scrubs in T18s, which has a strange reputation because it's a really, really bad tank, yet it seems incredibly popular. Very weak tracks on that vehicle, really needs to use premium rounds to excel in combat at this tier. Now as you can see, I'm getting myself into a good sidescrape position. I can predict this T7 combat car coming out. It's a very weak position he's got himself into there. He's going to expose himself to, as you can see, the fast aim time on his gun. Good accuracy means I've already done some good damage. Because I'm side-scraping, he can't touch me at all with that weak M2 machine gun of his, and I've already taken off half of his health with my very, very powerful 37mm gun. Now I'm pretty confident the rest of my team over there can deal with him, and I've also just noticed that my team is being a little bit scrubbed. They've left the hill open, and that's a problem because we're going to have a lot of scrubs in T18s trying to be cool, trying to come down that hill and get the ganks in, but unfortunately that's not really going to work out for them because we have at least 2 LOL tractors on this team. Very, very powerful combination for our team, 2 very overpowered tanks really, and so I'm just going to bring my 37mm gun around here to engage enemies coming downhill, protect our valuable artillery. As you can see, he's sitting here doing a very, very important job for our team on a urban map. You really need artillery to win you the game, so I'm going to make sure that he doesn't get bum rushed by scrubs coming down the hill. Got a Panzerjäger 1 to back me up, give him a little bit of push, get him around the corner faster, and we found another T7 car. Perfect shot to the wall of glasses right there, going through his armour. Perfect weak point shot. As you can see, the gun on this tank is very, very accurate even when it isn't aimed. It's one of the most overpowered factors in this tank, along with its powerful track armour, meaning it can sidescrape in pretty much any scenario. So bring myself around an angle just in case he's going to be around this corner to absorb any damage on those tracks again. And now I've got to come around this corner and help our allies here, because we've got a T18 who thinks he's cool, thinks he can outflank us, but unfortunately he's wrong. So my ally in the LOL tractor is going to take out that combat car with ease, and now I'm going to move around with him so we can double team this T18, show him how it's done. So I'm going to come in, try and get a little shot on the gun mantle there, get his attention, let him know who's boss. Move around here behind the wreck of his car. As you can see, he's using premium rounds. Without premium rounds, he wouldn't be able to penetrate my side armour. The 2-pounder gun does not have enough penetration to go through the side of a LOL tractor. Unfortunately, missing the shot on his tracks there. I'm just going to take his tracks off and get around behind him so I can properly humiliate him. As you can see, more premium rounds getting shot there. So he's going to be a scrub. He's going to come around me like this, exposing his side plate to damage, and that'll allow me to easily outflank him and take his track off. So as you can see, I'll come around here, rip his track off, he's doing a decent amount of 32 damage, and now I can sit behind him and humiliate him by just shooting him through the rear plate to prove that he really is a scrub in a T18. So that's all but one of the enemy T18 scrubs destroyed. As you can see, not a very powerful tank, very easily for me to outflank it and destroy it, and really relying on those premium rounds. I think too many people play the T18. It's a tank that I think needs to be removed from the game in order to make everyone better players, and try and kind of get those global win rates up a little bit so we don't have so many scrubs in the game. So just patrolling around looking for those final enemies. It turns out we've already killed that T18, so I don't need to outflank him, and I can pull around to hunt down this remaining T7 combat car. Now as you can see, the good turn of speed on the LOL tractor means I can very easily catch up with him. He's going to try and run past us, make a rush for our cap, but he's going to have no chance at that. And as you can see, even though the T7's regarded as something of a fast tank, no way can he escape this LOL tractor. Very, very strong engine power. very powerful gun means I can put a perfect shot into him without even needing to aim, and now I can chase him down. Unfortunately, the scrubs on my team are deciding to farm some coward points in the cap, and that's because it's just low tiers. They don't really know that the most important thing in World of Tanks is killing everyone and proving that you are the better player, because that's all that matters in life. So a moving shot to the T7, but unfortunately I can't kill him in time. So here we are on Province in the Op Tractor again, and as you can see this is going to be a very tough game because there's a good number of Vol Tractors on the field, which means that there's a good number of skilled players out there in very overpowered tanks, which means that it'll be a tough fight and we're really going to have to strike hard and fast to get those kills in. But as you can see, the engine power on the Vol Tractor easily allowing me to outpace most of my team and get to the good positions early. Now, I'm pretty sure that those enemy T1 Cunninghams, as well as our T1 Cunninghams, are going to scrub out. They're in fast tanks, and really, those tanks are just too fast. They don't need that speed. They're not very useful overall. Their guns are pretty weak, and their speed just gets them into trouble. So as you can see, we've already got one T1 down there, putting himself into a scrub spot. Going to get in trouble. And ultimately, I think he's not going to really contribute much to this game. So as you can see, putting myself in a good sidescrape position from a long distance, and allowing me to engage this enemy Renault Otsu. So that was a good hit there, dealing a good amount of damage to him with the blind shot. Unfortunately, my guns decided that the rock is a more strategically important target, and while normally I would agree, I think right now we really need to engage those overpowered enemy tanks. So there's a light tractor there, but I don't really have a good shot at him, so I'm going to have to go after this remaining enemy tank just to prove to him that he is a scrub for not driving a Vol Tractor. And as you can see, the good alpha damage on that gun, easily turning that into a one-shot kill. Very, very powerful gun there. More than enough for Tier 1, and incredibly effective all the way up to Tier 10. More than capable of engaging enemy tanks. And oh dear, I'm taking hits from the Vol Tractor. I wasn't paying attention, and he's taken out my engine. As you can see, the strong damage there. I need to return fire. Unfortunately, that shot misses. However, the strong alpha damage means I can very easily take him out like that. I was very, very lucky. I should have been paying more attention there. Because when it comes down to a Vol Tractor versus a Vol Tractor, it's all about the luck and also the skill of the player. Because the tanks are so overpowered that the only thing that can really kill a Vol Tractor is another Vol Tractor. So trying to take some shots at that remaining NC-31. However, I know that there is another Vol Tractor out there, at least two more remaining. So I have to be very, very careful to make sure that I don't get killed by my own carelessness. Once again, the only thing that can really challenge me in this game are those remaining two Vol Tractors. I can't quite get a shot on this NC-31 because he's being a coward. He's dug in behind that rock like a little baby. So I'm going to try and move around on this flank and try and bait some of my enemies and coming to try and challenge me. Generally speaking, as you can see, the engine damage that I've taken is something of a loss because now I can't quite use the Vol Tractor's fantastic speed to outmaneuver my opponents. As you can see, it's T1 running into me. Really, he couldn't stop in time because that tank's just too fast for even a good player to handle. That's the real big weakness of the T1 Cunningham. Unlike the Vol Tractor, which is a perfectly balanced vehicle for every tier. So we've got an MS-1 poking down in the rocks there. He's foolish because he's driving a Russian tank. Generally speaking, Russian tanks tend to be quite weak in terms of gameplay, especially things like the IS-3 at Tier 8. Very weak tank. Not really seen much in a lot of competitive gaming in favour of things like the Japanese mediums or the French early tier tanks. A lot of the very early French tanks are quite powerful. Obviously not as good as the Vol Tractor, but they can, some of the higher tier ones, about tier 5, tier 4, can give the light tractor a run for its money if you're not careful. As you can see, our scrub medium one, they're feeding a kill to an enemy T1. Which just serves to show that even in a bad tank, scrubs can succeed when someone else derps out more. So I'm going to make a rush at this MS-1. You're not going to see it coming because he doesn't have the same terrain crossing capability that I do, so I can easily outmaneuver and take him out. As you can see, my armor easily bouncing damage there. However, I'm taking hits. I'm pretty sure it's one of those Vol Tractors. It's really the only thing that can penetrate me here. I'm just going to try and get to cover, and unfortunately I'll get taken out by the Vol Tractor. See, I was a little bit too careless there, and once again, the only thing that really can kill a Vol Tractor is another Vol Tractor. However, I'm pretty certain that I've gotten 3 kills, so that's going to be a strong win for us. Most of their strongest vehicles have already been destroyed, so I think overall that's going to be a very strong win for our team.